my name is Erica Cully, and this is my developmental autobiography presentation. So let's start off with who I am. For starters, my name is Erica. I am 32 years old. I am a full-time nursing student and also a full-time CNA at an assisted living facility. In my spare time, I play pool on a pool league. I like to spend time with my friends and family, and I love to travel. And any other spare time, I try to get some sleep. But to really explain the person I am today, we have to go back to the earliest times that I can remember. So we'll start with middle childhood, drive right through adolescence, and finish up with middle adulthood to get the entire story of who I am. Okay, so starting off with middle childhood, which is the ages of about 6 to 12, it's been really interesting to see how I've developed not only physically but cognitively and socially as well. There were many things that happened during this period of my life, but for the sake of this assignment, I'll just focus on a few that I can really remember. So physically, during this time, I started to experience a growth spurt. I was getting taller and gaining weight at a rapid rate. And I remember my mom always saying she kept having to buy me bigger clothes and shoes because of how quick I was growing out of them. I used to make a game out of it to see how quickly I could get to the next shoe size. I also noticed that my reaction time was improving. I started to become drastically better at sports. Specifically, what I remember would be t-ball and soccer. T-ball, when I first started, I wasn't even able to hit the ball. As I got older, I became a lot better and more precise, and I could knock the ball right into the field, which was pretty interesting to remember. Also, with soccer, I could barely kick the ball when I first started, and then I became a lot better. I was able to dribble the ball on my knee and have control of the ball as I was sprinting down the field. Now, I wasn't David Beckham good, but I was pretty close. Along with sports, I started to do a lot more things myself, like brushing my teeth, making myself breakfast, tying my shoes, things that my mom would usually do for me, started to do for myself and became a little bit more independent. Now, cognitively, I could really see some changes as well. During this time, I found that I could engage in decentration, which means that I could focus on more than one aspect or dimension of a problem or situation at once. Now, socially, during this time period, and even though I was still developing as a child, I found myself going through separation anxiety disorder. This was when I was separated for multiple months from my mother and was put into a foster care. Now, even though I was able to visit with her on weekends, I was always left upset and unable to function every time we had to part. I would cry and try to stay with her until my social worker had us part us. It's definitely a feeling that's been embedded to my childhood, and I think a part of me still experienced it up until the day she passed 5 years ago. Though that was a very traumatic experience in my life, it definitely helped shape me into the woman that I am today. Moving right along, we're going to look at adolescence, so the ages of 11 to 19. So physically, this was the onset of puberty for me, and I was blessed with the menarche, or my first menstruation. Hopefully I said that right. I remember crying dramatically, thinking that I was dying, and cried to my parents to rush me to the hospital. My stepmom laughed at me and didn't even take me serious in the slightest bit. Before I could rush to the phone to call 911, she sat me down and explained to me what exactly was going on. Told me how normal it was, and then along with that came the famous birds and bees talk. So after I calmed down from that, I got to see many changes in my body and physical appearance. I saw an increase in attention from the male population as well. During this time, I definitely focused more on my body image and my weight. I tried to stay active so that I didn't gain an excessive amount of weight. I never went through any eating disorders or anything like that, which I'm very thankful for. But I do recall a girl in my high school who was not so lucky. She was actually bulimic, and she was actually bullied a lot. She left school for a couple years and then to get help, but that she needed. But back to me. Cognitively, during the most dramatic period of my life, I went through the concept of imaginary audience. I was so focused on what everybody else thought of me, and I had to buy the most popular jeans or shirts. I think during this time it was Aeropostale was the big popular one. And academically, I just tried to be the best that I could be so that my teachers thought the utmost of me. Socially, I was a wreck. I was going through a big identity crisis, which I think a lot of people do. Now, socially, it was really tough. I remember making some of the biggest decisions of my life during this time. Where I was going to go to college, if I was going to go to college, what I wanted to do. Originally, I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer, so I applied to the University of Delaware and got accepted for the criminal justice program, and ultimately changed that decision right away. But that's a tough age, and it was really hard to make some of the decisions that I had to make. Now, finally, we have landed at middle adulthood, so the age is about 18 to 25. Now, this is when I really started to feel like an adult. I had moved out on my own, and I could start my own life. Physically, I actually went through a really upsetting event. I experienced the onset of dysmenorrhea, which is painful menstruation. It was really an emotional roller coaster for me from adolescence. It was during this time that I experienced a miscarriage, not once but twice, due to my hormonal imbalances. I did seek comfort after this event, but I went to researches and studies to make sure there wasn't something wrong with me, and I really found myself during this time. That was a really tragic bump in my life journey, but since then I've actually really come to peace with it. There's so many different ways to have a baby now, so it's nice to feel that comfort when I do decide to have a child. And since then, I've actually taken more of an interest in my overall health to be the best possible version of myself. Now, cognitively, I found that during this period of my life, I came across pragmatic thoughts, which is the decision making characterized by the willingness to accept reality and compromise. Now, this relates to my life is that I find myself making concrete decisions about my life and committing to nursing school and a career as a nurse. I also made a concrete choice in a mate who I've now been with for 6 years. And socially, I'm living out the dream, the long-sought dream that everybody goes after. At this point in my life, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself and leave a legacy or a story that will influence future generations after me. I know there may be a million nurses in the world, but even if I'm one person to a few people and to my future children, that'll fulfill my goal. And at this period of my life, I just want to be happy and successful. I want to be the girl sliding into my grave like I'm sliding into home base, and just people really remembering me as an amazing person. So overall, these are just a few stops on my journey of life. It's been nice to see how I've progressed through life, and really nice to go back and connect all the dots. I can truly say that I have a very memorable life and enjoyed every peak and valley of it up until now. And then I'll continue to follow my idea. Enjoy your life to the fullest. Nobody makes it out alive. Thank you. If you're wondering, these two pictures right here are a couple of my traveling adventures. On the left, I was in Reykjavik, Iceland, and on the right, that is Thailand. Thank you for your time.